So now we will move to the publishers panel. I have great guests today, great questions, hopefully, and probably great answers. So let's start introducing them. So first, Dorota Adamczyk-Mroczek, Chief Revenue Officer of Wyborcza.pl, one of the most premium news websites in Poland, over 200,000 subscribers. Next, Itai Gilad, Monetization Manager, Tabula News, previously Celtic. Content delivery platforms, plenty of premium publishers delivering great content to millions of mobile users. Arnas Levickas from Vinted, first Lithuanian unicorn, over 40 million users on 11 markets, one of the biggest, if not the biggest now, correct me if I'm wrong, Arnas, marketplace for second-hand clothing and accessories. Ayman Har, head of programmatic of ResearchGate, the platform where you can find over 17 million researchers, over 130 million publications, so EdTech. And last but not least, Mateusz Mucha, co-founder and CEO of OmniCalculator, a Polish startup which delivers you over 1,300 calculators that can help you solve your real-life problems, calculate all the cool stuff that you can come up with. So different verticals, different people, different geos. Guys, happy to have you here. Thanks for joining me. Sorry for doing it for you at this hour, especially the guys that are in the different time zones, because I know that Arnas and Itai, probably you, Ayman, as well, you guys are a little later in the day that I am. So let's go straight to the chase. Top topic for now, not cookies, pandemic, unfortunately. No one expected that. Everyone was expecting that we will be sitting now like Arnas is doing on a beach with nice breeze in our hair. But no, unfortunately, February, March happened. Then we had to take care of the unexpected. So I would like to ask some of you at the beginning, what's your business? Was your business affected? I'm sure it was in a way, but I'm interested, was it like a positive effect or negative effect? Was your business affected by the pandemic? And in what way exactly was it affected? So let's start with the lady. Dorota, can you share with us the effect that a pandemic had on Wyborcza and your business?
Hi all, thank you, Szymon. My name is Dorota Adamczyk-Mroczek and I'm CRO at Wyborcza.pl. So in February 2020 had the potential to be to bring us the highest digital revenue in the history of our business. And then black swans inhabited worldwide water. So we had both. We got the negative impact and the positive one, because we are a subscription business. So the news industry was seeing a giant surge in the demand for online news and for online subscriptions. But on the other hand, while traffic spiked to all-the-time highs for us and for other publishers, it has proven difficult to monetize through advertising. Largely, advertisers didn't want to be associated with COVID-related content and reduced or even eliminated ad budgets. So demand didn't balance the supply, and ad revenue from March to May decreased by 50 to 20% in our business, and as I compared it to with other publishers, and I know that it was quite good results when I compare it with offline medias. I know that we were privileged.
Okay, interesting. Ayman, was it the same more or less for your business, for the educational vertical as I perceive you as ResearchGate?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. Well, I think ResearchGate, I mean, we were not different from, we were affected like any other business in some way. ResearchGate was no different. So one of the most important effect was that the fact that we learn how to work fully remote setup almost overnight. So tomorrow you work from home. So it highlights, at the same time, it highlights the importance of what we do at ResearchGate, bringing researchers and scientists, improving that the scholarly communication works in more important now than ever. On the programmatic side, it's the same impact as anybody else, right? So you get a lot of traffic, yes, but like what? Advertisers, hotels? Please come to my hotel. There's hotels closed. Visit restaurants. No, restaurants closed. So no advertisers at all. In that, in some areas where and when I was following the news, what's happening, and based on our traffic, I say, okay, next week in that country, the revenue will drop. And you follow this on the programmatic side. On direct, because our main advertisers are really from life sciences, which is related to the pandemic. So it was not that effect on the direct side.
Okay, Mateusz, how about the calculators? During the pandemic and on the lockdown, were users still calculating stuff? For example, their savings that are melting, I assume? Mike.
Thanks for having me. That's a good question, but I have to start with a question of my own.
Sure.
I noticed that all of your books have roughly the same height. Do you optimize for that? Do you go to the bookstore with a measurement device, or do you just go to a certified by IKEA list of novelists and you just buy those authors?
Yeah, so it's actually more difficult than that. This is my father-in-law lake house that I'm staying at, enjoying some positive aspects of home office, but this part is DVDs. So DVDs equal. You buy DVD, you have the same shape and height. Here, not that much, but your great eye noticed that. So yeah, this is how it looks.
But I can't distinguish between books and DVDs. These are the times we live in. All right, thank you very much. Do people calculate? Yes, people do calculate. We noticed what pretty much everybody else noticed. So much lower rates, all rates, I think fell during the worst times, they fell 40% in comparison to what we saw in February. But the traffic made up for a part of it because we saw a huge spike of traffic. Initially, the traffic actually went down when they decided, okay, schools are closing down, because a lot of our traffic is education. Mm-hmm. And when schools closed, the initial days, the traffic went down because I guess none of the classes were happening. People were just trying to organize themselves. But then a few days later, it started to pick up, and we saw record numbers during the quarantine. And interestingly, now that the rates have largely recovered from the worst times, we see that after vacations, the traffic is way higher for those education themed calculators than it was a year ago. And it's just not just that we're stronger in those areas. We see in Google Search Console that people actually search for those terms much more often, sometimes twice as often as they were last year.
Nice. So for the guys abroad, I don't know if that kind of stories happened in your countries. In Poland, it was a famous story. There was a math competition for 8 years old. Normally around 8 to 10 kids yearly score perfect score on this competition. This year it was over 6,000, because probably the parents of those kids staying at home were using your calculators, Mateusz, to get the perfect score. Yeah, that's why it grew that much. Great, thanks for sharing the insights. Considering that all of you were affected in some way by pandemic, also some actions had to be done to prevent it and to make up or to get some occasions. So now to the guys on the beach, a part of going to the beach to relax a bit and not stress that much. What kind of actions did your organizations took to prevent the dropping in revenue and to make up in traffic and stuff like that? So Itai, can you share? Can you start?
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. So regarding the assets that Taboola has on the operated sites, we saw first thing that on areas that we have COVID content, we see lower CPMs from the demand sources. So working with our editors, we decided to start to decrease the share of COVID content across the sites. Of course, it wasn't in the beginning, as everybody was very interested with this content, but we decided to start decreasing the share and showing more lifestyle, entertainment, also gaming content that we see that works and generates higher CPM. So we adjusted our strategy according to what's going on the market. Second thing we did to compensate for the negative effects was to diversify the demand channel, working more with performance-based ads, like the native ads that we have, sponsored content ads, to decrease the dependency, in brands, because we know that brands pulled a lot of the budgets out. Mm-hmm. So we saw good results from that, and also moving to more outstream video on mid-article positions. We saw a nice uplift, incremental uplift from that. And I think the third was to look holistically on the sites and on the inventory quality and try to increase the viewability rate to drive more attractive brands and high viewability campaigns that will buy the traffic. We also saw a nice increase from that, even sometimes in the case of lowering the total ad requests with the lower viewability, just to basically give you more quality rating to your site. That was like the 3 main points.
Cool. So you were not afraid of testing stuff during this difficult period, because what we saw in many cases, the publisher were afraid to implement new stuff, test new stuff, because they were afraid that they will lose even more due to those tests. So it's good to hear that you were not afraid of that.
Yeah, no, for us it was driving us to do more tests and start picking up things that we didn't do for long and said let's do it now.
Okay.
We need it now.
Cool. Arnas, was it similar in your case or a little different? Also, what was the impact? Because it's interesting in terms of like marketplace.
Yeah. Hi there. Thank you for having me. Our biggest challenge started when government started closing down, and as we are a two-sided marketplace, so we care about the sellers and the buyers, and we also take care of the shipping. So if the countries are closed down, the borders are shut, we cannot fulfill the shipping anymore. So that means that most of I think all of our couriers just said that they cannot operate anymore due to the situation. And then we were in a kind of a tricky situation where we wanted to retain as much traffic as possible, naturally because of advertising and other services, but we couldn't fulfill the transactions, because even if we would allow the trade to happen, there's no way the seller would get the item to the buyer. Mm-hmm. So one thing we did was we introduced, and we were pretty quick on that, we introduced the reservation system where the buyer could reserve the item, and once the situation gets better or the restrictions are lifted, then the seller can just send off the item. So this kind of helped us to both retain the traffic because people are still searching for the great deals, still looking for new items. We've encouraged people while they are at home to clean up their closets, upload new items. So this kind of helped us to maintain relatively normal levels of traffic as well as the reservations. And then it was very interesting to see once the restrictions were off how the trades and the successful trade just popped off and skyrocketed. So this is how we dealt with it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was one of the people doing similar thing. I wasn't selling clothes, but I finally got some time sitting at home to clean up my storage and to sell half of my old furniture and stuff like that. And I earned like 2,000 PLN, which is 500 euro more or less. And I was amazed how many people are like buying during this lockdown. I sold the gym bike in like 2 hours on OLX because you cannot help me with it, but it was crazy. I just posted it, the guy came, gave me the money, went. Amazing. Dorota, in your case, how were you trying to limit the drops?
Yeah, sorry, now you can see me, yeah?
Sure.
As Christian Mikkelsen from Adform said that COVID economy has affected various sectors of advertising differently. So all I want to briefly add that just our sales force were focused on that branch that which have remained steady or even experienced such as streaming entertainment and of course personal sports and bikes, as you said, Shimon. Furthermore, we cooperate with our partners because we had some space to do good things, to create or involve in some kind of initiatives like with Booksy, which help some local businesses affected by COVID. And surplus traffic allowed us to make some bold steps with subscription projects, which normally could affect our advertisement ads space. So we were brave enough, and now we have some super lessons learned, and we know how to get the subscribers quicker and in more efficient way. And finally, we launched a product connected with sensitive subject because of that some of our clients want to they don't want to be shown in clothes COVID-related content and so on. So now they have ability to be only in the
safe environment.
Safe, yes, exactly, safe content.
Awesome. And yeah, I've heard and I read a lot about especially news publishers growing their subscriptions during the COVID period. So I was last aware that you were like 220K. How much did it increase during this period?
A lot, but now we are struggle with retain them. Okay. So you know, it's always have the dark side of growing really speed.
Sure, two-sided sword.
Yes,
sword. Cool. Okay, guys, but was there actually, we mentioned some like increased traffic, was there actually any positive sides of the pandemic, the lockdown, the whole situation in your businesses? Was there anything positive that you actually I know I cannot say enjoyed, but we're happy about? Can you name at least one thing, Itai?
Yeah, sure. I think for us, we saw that people are more engaged working from home, probably because that's what we think, that they can adjust their working hours to each individual unique lifestyle. something that wasn't possible when you work 9 to 5. If it's working early or people that likes to work late at night, even the fact that we save the commute time to work, that can be easily 1 hour each direction, help employees to manage their time more efficient and to spend more time with their families. So all of that actually for us increased the cooperation and the effectiveness of the teams. I also think that because we are a global company, we work with on video calls with colleagues most of the time. So the move, the physical move to working from home with all the equipment was for us a bit faster, I think, than companies that are not used to it. Although it's very hard, it was a bit easier for us.
Okay, cool. Ayman, what about you and the ResearchGate?
Oh, like before I said when it started, I said it's a test for humanity. When it's the start. But for us as a company, it was really amazing to test our resilience and the flexibility as a team. So moving to being an entirely, distributed company has had many positive aspects to it. So we've also really had to understand our members, our customers, and figure out new challenges that they are facing and adapt to it and the conditions, towards it. So the focus, this focus in particular was really a positive on the other side.
Cool. Arnas, Mateusz, how did it look on your end? Any positive aspects?
In our case, there were two quite positive aspects. One of them I partially already mentioned, so the educational uptick in traffic. But while it's nice now, I believe it will be huge in the future. So as the education will be in a larger part than it was ever before remote, we believe that we can create tools that help teachers help their students to look at the world through the lens of numbers and equations and generally science. So we already have a concrete service in mind, and we will build a second leg of the company based heavily on education. So this is one thing. And the second thing was quite remarkable. We do our marketing mainly in one way. We produce calculators that are not really searched for by anybody, but they are interesting enough to write about. So they're either funny or just amusing, or they are socially engaged. So I don't know, they calculate how many cigarettes do we breathe in with polluted air in our cities, or they tell us how much sex we need to have in order to burn donuts on Fat Thursday, or what's my meat footprint, right? How much CO2 do I emit by eating cows all day long? Things like that. And during COVID, journalists, and it lasts still today, we often hear, okay, I'm sorry, it's interesting, but I don't want to write about anything that doesn't have COVID in it. But we created until now 26 COVID-related calculators. And while all those campaigns before, they would just bring us links from really nice media outlets like New York Times or The Guardian or National Geographic, this time they brought actual traffic. When we did the calculator around the stimulus package in the US, we actually built, I think, 3 or 4 of those calculators because they kept bringing new proposals. I think we got 6 million visitors to those 3 or 4 calculators over 3 months, which is like 1 month worth of traffic for us. And that was remarkable. And we still are getting better and better and pushing those COVID-related topics.
And this is the greatest and I think most valuable source of traffic. So kudos for that. And sometimes it's like pure saying where they are challenges, there are opportunities, but you guys are clearly showing that it's true. And I'm keeping fingers crossed for your second leg of business. Arnas, now to you. Have you seen any positives for Vinted?
Yeah, actually, we have seen quite a lot of positivity, but in a very kind of a different aspect, as we do quite a lot of user research trying to find out, as we are in the secondhand business, one of our largest challenges is the secondhand stigma. People don't want to use secondhand items, whether it's clothing or anything else. So we do a lot of research about people's perception on sustainability, on how do they spend their money, and we've noticed that after the pandemic, after the situation got a little better in the late spring and summer, people tend to value sustainability even more, and they tend to value secondhand even more than they did before, and then especially putting more thought into how they're spending the money and where are they spending the money, and if there's an opportunity to save money, to be cost efficient, they are going to choose that. So it's kind of perfect for us because we are aiming for that particular segment. Secondhand clothing, make secondhand first choice worldwide, just kind of reduce the waste. And yeah, so this whole pandemic has changed people's perception a bit, and we are kind of benefiting from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see that people are starting to realize what is this all about.
Awesome, yeah, that's great, and I think it's happening, and it's cool to see and hear that the people are starting to think a little differently, because they were scared their whole, maybe not live, but couple of last years, you know, the climate changes and everything, the zombie land too, and now they see that things like that spread really quickly through the whole globe can happen, and many of my friends changed their approach to stuff. They prefer bike over car, and they're thinking much more on what they're spending the money, new versus vintage or secondhand, or how you name it. So yeah, I agree. Great, guys. So we know what happened, but we don't know yet what will happen. Of course, the first wave, as we call it, will have its toll still for a couple of quarters to come. But in many countries, the second wave is starting, or at least media are saying that it's starting. We are the media as well, but yes, some of us are saying that or not. Do you actually have any kind of strategies, plans to prevent your businesses from what will happen, especially the negative parts of it? Or do you just try to adapt? I assume not, because all the big companies try to, you know, create those pillows and create those escape plans, or how we want to call it as well. Do you do that in your organizations, Dorota? Maybe you at the beginning?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not afraid of the second wave because I think that pandemics will not cause advertising slowdowns, but recessions will. So this is what I am afraid of, really. And I saw that research from Deloitte shows that it will, you know, the recovery will be W-shaped. So I think we will have to get used to new normality when figures will change from month to month. Now I'm really happy because we are back on track with our budget. So I feel some positive wave in our business. But as I told you, I know that it will change. So. I'm not sure if we can do something with this, because it's when I'm thinking about the recession, is like butterfly effects, and you can't do a lot with that. And I think that we can't predict even what will be the long-term effects of pandemic. So, in my opinion, it's just to right selection of partners will be the key of any campaign success in 2021. So that's all.
Sure. So react and adapt. Mateusz, is it the same in OmniCalculator?
So I don't think we can do anything about the root cause of the scare, right? So we cannot fix the economic situation, like we cannot prevent the recession, we cannot prevent the pandemic from happening. So what we can do is I don't know if that's a universal expression or just Polish, we can escape ahead. So we can do other things that can help us offset potential negative effects of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we focus on performance right now. We started doing a lot of things to fix our issues. Like our website is a lot heavier because it's a JavaScript heavy website. It's nicer on the user experience but it's also worse performer than what our competition is. So we're trying to alleviate those pain points. And we were just running a successful experiment with delaying the ads so that the website performs better, and it looks good for now. The other area is internationalization. Our website is still available in English only.
Mm-hmm.
And people generally do not Google in English if they expect to have a result in their own language. So we have barely any traffic from non-English speaking countries. So this is something that can give us a even fivefold traffic when we translate our service to 15 languages or so.
Okay.
And maths is a universal language, so it shouldn't be a huge problem in 90% of cases. And that's educational project that I talked about. This is something very promising, but it's also big, so it's not something that we can do right away.
Sure. Agnes, I will ask you as well about that. Do you do any kind of plans or like strategies for the second wave or for the impact, like long-term impact?
So our strategy is pretty straightforward. It's at first just learning from what hurt us the most on the first wave. So we're pretty much ever since it ended or we managed to cope with the first wave in spring, we've started creating plans and creating strategies on how we can mitigate the risk the next time. So this has helped us to identify our weaknesses, our kind of the weakest points in the whole supply chain. Also, we are creating solutions that help us reduce the dependency on the external factors that we don't have the impact on or that we cannot affect. And and besides that, we are preparing. I know that we're preparing in advance some of the user communication if we have to change the user behavior. If all of a sudden we don't allow to do something and we change that action with something else, we've prepared in advance all the communication, and this is kind of now put under a big red button. So if shit hits the fan again, we just press the button and completely change our strategy, inform all of our members on what's happening. So this is pretty much on how we prepare.
Sure, cool. Okay, guys, so as we are already a bit after hours, I would say, let's go to the last question. Other challenges, because I asked you a lot about COVID pandemic and its impact, but if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be meeting probably today, because we would be getting ready to DMEXCO. I'm sure I met you, Itai, and you, Arnas, last year at DMEXCO. So, guys, and this is a question to all of you. If you don't want to answer, don't. What different challenge, a part of the pandemic, do you see on the horizon for publishers, especially for publishers monetizing their inventory with ads? I will not be giving any suggestions because we covered some of them through the event today, so I will let you choose. But I'm really excited to hear if you will all name the same thing, because it's like, I think two most repeated matters in the media, but I would love to hear what's in your perspective, especially your business perspective, the most the biggest upcoming challenge next to the pandemic? Itai, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think for us would be, managing the future changes with cookies. We don't have like a robust system now that we can use it. I think it's something we'll need to explore, research, and then develop. I think some of the panels today were really interesting and gave me some ideas what to do next. But we're not waiting to see the effect too much, but we know it's coming. So I think for us, this is like, for me, this is the thing I would prepare the most for.
Okay. Guys, any other topics? Because cookies were again top of my mind. Ayman, do you have any other challenges that you're looking forward to?
Actually, it's exactly the same about the ideas, and soon we are like, it's as we talk, we are implementing it. So it would be great like to test it. I would urge like other publishers to encourage like whoever did not do this exercise about like during this pandemic, and like to increase their viewability, because this, we talk about it, but when you go to DV360 on the buyer side and you check any publisher, you still see this, the overall viewability is like anyway very low. To increase it like on our side from 70, and we made it now 80. So that's like, it's really very important. Really, it's a factor for the buying system. I would really encourage publishers to do this. I mean, to this exercise. Aside
Awesome.
from the the ideas. Yeah,
great. Yeah, because we also can see that the visibility is like a key metric now for the buyers. Yeah, in Poland, some of the biggest publishers even tried or succeed in introducing the VCPM metric in handling with the advertisers. So I'm really curious where it will go. Agnes, Dorota, Mateusz, do you have anything else to add on your end?
I don't have a question on visibility.
Sure.
Do you think that the visibility of those lower performing, less often showing ads with lower visibility, do they affect the performance of those better units as well?
So guys, do you want to take it or should I?
Okay.
Okay, so my perspective is it doesn't matter that much, because the buyers, as far as I know, especially on DV360, they're targeting ad units. So the one thing it's affecting is the performance of this ad unit, not the others. Maybe if they are looking very close to your website, they can optimize you out of the campaign, because your domain will show them next to low visibility score. But it's really rare from our perspective, because we were also buying traffic for some brands, and our buyers were not that granular in the optimization. But of course, we're always advising to go quality rather than quantity, and implement lazy loading, and decrease the number of ad requests, and increase the viewability. So this is what we would recommend. Guys, any other
just to add to this
challenges? Sure.
Yeah, just like in commenting this, because on the when you're setting on DV360, when you set the deal with a specific with a specific buyer, then he will look at your overall viewability, not on a specific ad unit. So just to make it clear for him. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was looking more like open market level. Agnes, Dorota, do you have any other challenges that you think can happen in the next 2 quarters, in the next year, than cookies and then pandemic impact?
Yes, maybe something a little different from those things that you said, because what I am afraid that will we still be able to invest in quality, because in fact we had lower incomes, and other publishers had the same. But in my opinion, when you can't compete with Google, Facebook, and Amazon scale, you have to provide good quality. So, and it's always costs. Of course, bad quality is much more expensive than the good one. But as you know, it's really difficult decision to invest in such a difficult times. But I always keep in my mind that old keys will not open new doors. So I hope that we will manage, but you will see.
Great. Arnas, you have the last chance to speak.
So we are pretty much battling the same issues as most of the industry. We're still working on TCF v2. We're still working on the well, we're working until on the iOS 14 changes, but as that got delayed, so we deprioritized that. Besides that, on some of the more unique parts, well, during the pandemic, we saw that the negative effect from advertising is increasing on our platform, as we do measure what is the impact of us showing advertising for our users. And we saw that that significantly increased. Now we're kind of trying to pinpoint and identify the users who are mostly hurt by either the content or the fact that we show advertising, and then kind of battle this. Besides that, yeah, the other usual publisher issues, like whether or not we want to use our first-party data, and if so, on to what extent, and how to utilize that in the best manner.
So fun times ahead of us, guys. I keep my fingers crossed for you, for us as well, because with some of you we work quite close, and we were trying to support you to the best extent. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for joining me at that late hour. I will now let you go back to your cats, kids, calculators, and anything like coffee, maybe, but it's quite late. And I really hope that next year we will be able to meet in person on the next edition of the YieldFest, and to look back and laugh at what's going on this year, because you know it learns us a lot. It learns us to be more humble, I think, at least on my end. But again, we are pushed to leave the comfort zone that we're in, and we can test more, we can be more bold, and we can just start looking for new occasions. So I encourage you to do that. And once again, thank you for staying with us. For the participants, I see your questions. I will deliver them to the panelists, and I will give the answers back via email. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the summary, and stay tuned for the next editions. Thanks, guys, once again. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Shimon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.